the first thing that we did to rebuild our business, well, we were quite fortunate in that our members stayed with us. We lost practically no members. The rebuilding effort began with a hurricane seminar/summit in Baton Rouge, where we invited a lot of the members to come, and with the help of some of our associates on the national level and some of the local folks, we put together a lot of different websites on how to deal with federal government, FEMA, and we prepared a booklet. And at that time, we also put together a marketing campaign of about 5,000 companies in the two-state area, and we all mailed out to each one of them all of this little brochure we had put together with the guidelines and the websites and how to get themselves registered with the federal government to begin the recovery process.
NACM, I remember within the first week after the hurricane, NACM set up a seminar, a quick seminar, of how to handle credit in a post-disaster situation. And they gave us tips on the Miller Act. They gave us tips on how to investigate contractors, that have contracts with the government. So they were there right off the bat, helping us with information, because we had things coming in that we'd never seen before, right. As far as FEMA, because we had never experienced dealing with FEMA in the past. They were there with information, and then also just the day-to-day relationships. You pick up key people within certain vendors that you make not an ally out of, but a source of information, because electrical's going to know, concrete's going to know before plumbing if there's a problem.
Yeah. They also helped, as Crystal said, a lot of out-of-state contractors coming in. You were able to, access the data banks from other NACM branches to pull credit reports on out-of-state customers. Don put me in contact with NACM Tampa and Orlando, because, of course, they had dealings with customers who had been through the situation, whereas we had not. So I actually contacted the affiliate offices down there to, ask them, how do you handle this situation? How do you know, how do you check these people out when they're coming from all over the world? And I mean, we used to, dealing with our local contractors, and you can readily have information available on these people, or make a phone call, and but when they're coming from out of state, I mean, your resources are limited, because most of them were not national companies that you could go through, D&B or someone like that. So your NACM affiliates really came in and helped us there, as well as national. NACM National was a really big help as far as answering questions on how to track contracts. These national contracts, these governmental contracts, and they were a world of information.
Great. For us, I think NACM helped more, as much on a personal level as a business level, because we had to we were evacuated to Baton Rouge. We worked out of our Baton Rouge store for months while we could at least clear the debris and be able to get into our New Orleans branch, which is where our corporate headquarters are. So for me, being having to be evacuated and not at home, it was so nice to be able to contact someone who was now here, who was familiar. It was one of those things that I could hold on to, because you're not only going through a great business type of problem, you're going through a great personal problem. Even though I was lucky enough not to lose a great deal at home, we still had our problems, but I was no longer living in my home. I was living with friends, because I had to help keep my business going so that all of us would have a business to go to when we were able to move back into New Orleans. We were literally trying to make sure that our business kept on, because our corporate headquarters was completely shut down. So to me, as much of a business help with trying to find people and trying to do things, it was just having that familiar person that I could go to and just say, oh, it's so nice to talk to you, Don. Just talk to me.
One of our first goals was to track our own members. especially those that were in the storm path. Where are they? How are they doing? Get new addresses, find out where they're operating, and make sure they understood that we were back for them as well, that they could access our system. Some of them were in the Florida Panhandle, others were in Baton Rouge, others were in Jackson, Mississippi. So we had to do a track to find them, and that took several weeks to find our members. And once that was done, then we began to feed them the data that they needed.
NACM was up, I think, before our systems were up. We were up in 2 weeks, and I think NACM was up about the same time. I think they had some delays on the website and a few other things, but I know Dom was operating within a week or two right after. So it was, they handled it very well and were available.
NACM has been instrumental in a lot of my credit decisions, and as it is now, they're instrumental in my job. They help me find my job. And my former employer, LF Gobier and Company, again, I was there for 27 years, greatly impacted. We took on 8 feet of water. The owner of the company also took on 4 feet of water in his home. He subsequently died a few months later. And so, needless to say, there's a lot of changes and everything's up in the air over there. The company's still up and going, but of course it's downsides. It's in the marine business. There's not a great demand right now for boats being built. There really isn't. But roofing, like my boss told me when I interviewed here, there's always going to be a demand.
Pre-Katrina, we were members of NACM. We would attend meetings, but we really didn't get involved in what NACM was all about. And then after going through Katrina, seeing them at work, helping and understanding that they're there to help us as much as we are there to help them. We are the membership is NACM. That really changed our outlook on NACM and our loyalty to NACM.
After Katrina, we went to Baton Rouge, and we were living in a hotel. And I was watching the news, and they said that it would be like 3 months before we can get back into our area. And I was devastated because when we left, I left my brother and my husband in New Orleans in my home. And they were up in the attic. We had no idea what was going on and if they were okay or not. And it took about 2 weeks before we really could hear from them, and it was really devastating. NACM of Florida, the Orlando Bureau, Florida Bureau, they adopt a family yearly. And they chose to adopt a family in New Orleans, and they chose my family. And they gave my family gifts for the kids. They gave me gifts. They gave me vacuum cleaners, TVs, microwaves. They gave me money to purchase things for my home. And it was just so special, and my family would love to take a trip down there just to thank them so much for what they've given us. It was so much of a blessing.